It's a Seiko. It was made in 1964 and it is impossibly elegant. It's got that whole grand Seiko thing going on, and it has also got 35 jewels, which is an impressive quantity of jewels, guys. If you remember my videos where I serviced the Rolex 3035, the Rolex 3135, the Rolex 2135, all of those watches have less jewels than this totally gorgeous vintage Seiko. And maybe what is most important about these beautiful vintage watches by Seiko compared with the Rolexes that I just mentioned is that your average punter like me can actually afford them. So Lucinda's working the camera, so anything might happen. So in my little workshop here, the light is actually best next to the lathe where I do some of the most intricate work on pocket watches. So I've brought this lovely Seiko into the natural light here just to show you how good this movement is. You can see, I mean, this was built in 1964. We've got 35 jewels, and they're not just, you know, these aren't jewels that are slapped into a main plate or bridge, you know, by any old Tom, Dick or Harry. We are talking about Seiko here, and Seiko are a company that know their business and have a really proud tradition of watchmaking there in Japan. Okay, it's Friday morning. It is 7 minutes past 9. Set this a little bit fast, and so we're about 8 minutes there, and we are going in 2 minutes time on our exciting trip.
But this is Niagara. Yeah, I felt good.
I do want to disassemble this watch, you know, enough to give you guys an idea of just the amount of high quality watchmaking there is in these old vintage Seikos. Okay, what we're looking at here is the underside of the automatic works when the camera will stay still. And if I just point out a few things real quick, the main mechanism that is putting power onto the spring is this thing called the magic lever. And this is this component here, which is, you know, the friction is taken out of its movement by this nice jewel here. And then its oscillation, which is an off-center oscillation, it's such that it drives this wheel round. But here's the interesting thing. Regardless of the rotation in this direction, on this pivot here, whether it is clockwise or anti-clockwise, the main driving wheel here on the left, this will always travel in the same direction. Let me demonstrate. If I come in here and turn it clockwise, you will see that main drive wheel turn clockwise. But if I turn it anti-clockwise, it still continues to turn clockwise. Now that is an elegant piece of engineering by Seiko. So I just wanted to have a quick look at the performance of this Seiko 6218 movement, which is looking rather nice there on the time grapher. So let's just have a look and see what the trace is telling us. And the first thing to notice is the beat rate, which, you know, is very, very standard beat rate for a watch of this age, 18,000 vibrations per hour there. And also the lift angle. I could not find out the exact lift angle for this particular caliber. If anyone knows it, I'd be grateful if you put it in the comments, please. I kind of hedge my bets at 53 degrees. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but you know, it will make a little bit of difference to the amplitude reading. But the amplitude reading is sitting there pretty normal at, you know, just under 270 degrees, so that looks good. The beat error is out though. We've got 1.6 milliseconds, so I'm going to do something about that. That's just gone up to 1.7. And we are losing 12 seconds a day in the dial down position. So, you know, that's not ideal. I would prefer to be, you know, if anything, gaining a few seconds a day. So I'm going to regulate that now and make that nice and sweet. But so before regulating the watch, I just want to lift out this top jewel on the balance, you know, because I can get to it easily and I might as well do it while I'm here. So you can see that I've just loosened the retaining clip there. I'm going to take that off, take the jewel out, give it a clean in some one dip and then pop it back and hopefully increase the amplitude a little bit with that. So, and look at the color of that stone, isn't that? And the spring, look at the spring going there. This, I mean, this is a very, very lovely watch. Okay, so we've had the stone out and cleaned it all out and just popped the capstone back in. Now you can see it's a little bit tilted there. I'm at very high magnification. You can just see in the center of the frame the pivot is still turning. So just gonna pop this lot back in now and crack on. Okay, so I've got the watch back together now and done some regulation on it, and this is the trace that we are getting with the dial up. You can see that cleaning out that jewel which the balance is now resting in has really brought up the amplitude nicely to 326. We have got the beat error down to nothing and we're looking at about +1 to +3 seconds a day. So, you know, we are in chronometer territory with this 1964, looking very, very lovely as always. 1964 Seiko Weekdater. Now that is a nice trace. We have lovely flowers. We have a lovely daughter. Hello. Hello, lovely daughter.
Hi.
So one of the other things that I just want to show you on this movement, which is common with a lot of Seiko movements, is the way in which the click on the ratchet wheel is implemented. You can see that it's actually a very large component. This here is where the click spring is anchored. It runs all the way underneath the ratchet wheel, and this is the actual click here. So as this wheel turns clockwise in this direction, this, the end of the click spring here, which I say is anchored here, pops out and then flips back over each of the teeth. Now that is a really chunky and I think really reliable mechanism, which is, you know, anchored with a great big spring here. It's easy to maintain, it's not going to wear out. You know, it's a really nice piece of design.
So Lucinda is working the camera and starting to get a little bit
no, you don't want to say that.
Come on.
Your dad's here now,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you're
okay.
going to have to...
So Lucinda's working the camera. My dad has just turned up here, and the time is, as you can see, coming up to 20 to 3. And check out the nice little blue lettering on the day window here. Anyway, we are at a place called Quartz House, and we have come to see the oldest clock in Britain. Okay, got it in the pendant right position, and that is the trace. So again, looking really nice here, very steady beat, very high amplitude, very good reading in the pendant right position. So getting quite a nice regulation of this watch all around now. So just coming into the very beautiful, I guess, Elizabethan chapel here in Quartz House. And in the corner at the back, it's almost like something sacred itself, is the oldest clock in the United Kingdom. Now, when I was talking about the automatic works, I mentioned that the main driving wheel, which drives the ratchet wheel around, is jeweled, and this is that jewel, which you can see again is a nice chunky jewel with a great big, hole there for that fat pivot, and you can see the teeth there of the ratchet wheel, which again, is a big chunky component. This thing is made to last. It's made, and it's working beautifully on my wrist, and it was made in 1964. And I'm going to show you the case back in a minute as well, because you can see that this watch has not sat in a drawer. It has had a lot of watch time, and the design of this thing is really well thought through. And here, as promised, is the case back. And as you can see, the writing on it is, barely now legible. You can see we've got Seiko and a 3-pronged crown, which, if it had 2 more prongs on it, actually would look a little bit like a Rolex crown. And the dolphin underneath there. It says waterproof down to 50 meters. I think we need to change the gaskets before we could rely on that. And it's also got the movement number there. If you look at the top left of the frame, 6218, that is the movement number, and then the case number, which looks to be 8370 there. But the point about this is that this is really well worn. This watch has not sat around doing nothing. It has been useful to its owner for decades. This is a really special thing. Let's look at the escapement on this. This clock is not in any hurry at all. It's been doing this for centuries. And I'll get you the full detail on the actual age of this clock, but it is very old, 15th century. Look at that. That is amazing. And I'm back from my trip now, and as you can see from this beautiful Seiko that it is Tuesday the 10th of September, and I'm just finishing the editing of the footage before putting this video out. And of course this video was really about 2 timepieces. This one, which is the one that I chose to wear for my trip down to darkest Cornwall to visit the other timepiece, which is the oldest clock in the United Kingdom, and what a treat that was. My daughter was flying in from Canada, and I met up with her and went down to see my old dad and his wife down in Devon, and off we went to Quartz house down there by the Tamar River. And guys, if you want a trip out and you're down in Cornwall, I can thoroughly recommend it. There was a whole load of stuff that I didn't show on the video, but let's now focus in on these two timepieces. And firstly, with my dogs kicking off at something, look at this thing here, guys. You know, I've tried to put it across in this video. These Seiko watches of the 1960s and 1970s are just so beautiful and so elegant. Do you know, I'm a Rolex fan, as you know, but sometimes when I look at these, I think they're more stylish. I think they're more 60s. I think they're more elegant, and you know, they are not at all shabby inside, and that was one of the points that I was trying to get across, and I hopefully succeeded in this video. Anyway, dropping down on the screen now, you will see some information about the oldest clock in the United Kingdom. And guys, if you have a chance to go and visit it, then I thoroughly recommend it. So the clock has been there since the 1490s, they think, and the clock doesn't have any kind of face. It has a going train, like, you know, the watch in front of us has a going train. And one of the things I find remarkable actually about my visit, looking at the escapement and the thing called the foliate on the clock, which performs the same function as the balance on this watch. If you were to have 45 minutes spare with the guy who was apparently probably a blacksmith that made that clock, and you were able to show him the inside of the watch that you are looking at on the screen now, that man and those people that helped him install that clock would be able to understand and recognize very quickly the similarities of these two mechanical devices. And I think that's absolutely amazing and astonishing. Essentially, this watch is a lot smaller, but in many ways it's not a whole lot different. This watch has a going train. The thing that this watch doesn't have is a striking chain, because of course the watch has a face to tell the time, but the only way that the turret clock could tell the time was with the striking of the bells. And so guys, I hope you like my videos. Check out the Quartz House website, and do not forget to subscribe. I've got plenty more videos coming your way. But for now, from Pembroke Dock here in the United Kingdom, that's all I've got for you for the moment.